Hey guys, welcome back to Unintended Acceleration. In this video, this is kind of going to be a part 3 of the BMW E60 M5. What I'm doing here is installing the crankshaft and torquing all the main cap bolts down. It was really difficult for me to even find torque specs on this as the new TIS website was shut down by BMW. So I actually had to pay the $30 to get on there and get the information, which, that's neither here nor there. I didn't have a choice. You've got to do it. You can't just guess. So right here, what I'm doing is I'm just lubricating the main bearings, which I ended up buying from Amazon. They were King bearings, just standard sizes. I don't think there's been any problems with the factory BMW main bearings. Mine looked a little worn, so I figured, I'm going this far, it'd be kind of dumb not to change them out. Right here, what I'm doing is I'm just popping in the tops of the rod bearings. Now, these rod bearings I actually got from Andrew at Lang Racing Development. So they're a little bit undersized or oversized, however you want to look at it. There's more oil clearance between the journal and the actual bearing. So hopefully that helps alleviate some issues with bearing failure. Either way, if you have to go through this process, guys, changing the rod bearings, I wish that's as far as I had to go. Getting your crankshaft repaired or replaced is a whole different story. So I actually sent this crankshaft out to Andrew at Lang Racing Development, and he had his guys repair it. And I'll tell you what, it looked brand new when I got it back. So I'm completely happy with the results. So right here, I'm just kind of showing you the first and second step that it tells you to go over when replacing your crankshaft, just because these are the things that were so hard for me to find. So there's the tightening, the torquing sequence, and then here's some torque specs. So if you're using factory BMW bolts, you're going to want to torque those just to get everything seated. And then after that, you're going to do the stretch. It's really important, guys. I've seen people not stretch their bolts, and then they go on a dyno and the engine just blows up in the dyno. So just make sure you are absolutely paying attention to this step. So that first sequence is just getting the torque to spec, and this is where we're going to actually stretch. And all the bolts have different stretches. I believe the main cap bolts were 130-degree stretch. These ones were quite a large stretch, so I had my dad there helping me just stabilize the block while we were getting all this stuff stretched. Well, and there you have it. A V10 has a lot of main cap bolts. And then I didn't show this part. I kind of edited it out. But, man, guys, I torqued those down, and the rod was actually jammed into the crankshaft when I was torquing them down, just barely, but enough that it wouldn't spin freely when I was done. So luckily, it didn't leave the slightest mark on the crankshaft, and it didn't leave the slightest mark on the bearing. But that's one of the steps that I I didn't do, trying to save time, is I didn't remove the pistons just because I hate having to take the pistons out, reline up all the rings, and then getting them back in the bores. But absolutely, guys, if you have to do this, it's so much easier. Just remove the pistons and the rods. Right here, I'm doing the perimeter bolts. Even the perimeter bolts have a stretch. They were pretty easy though, so I'm just getting them. I'm not even seating them all the way here. I'm just getting them pretty close so I can go back and just kind of hand snug them up to the block surface, and then I'll do the primary torque, and then I'll stretch it after that. But man, does this block have a lot of bolts. You know, really, guys, I don't know if there's a video. I don't know if there's a video on YouTube showing the crankshaft installation on an S85. God, you can barely even Google search S85 main bearings because it just automatically thinks you mean rod bearings. Main cap bolt torque specs, it wants to bring up rod bolt torque specs. I mean, this is a pretty rare engine. So here's where I'm doing the primary torque right there. If I remember right, it was only about 5 Newton meters or so. Really not very much. It just wants you to get the bolts seated. Yeah. Yeah, if you guys were like me in trying to find any sort of specs or information about this engine build, I mean, it's pretty rough. And I got to give it to the crew down at the BMW here in Sandy. I'm actually up in the northern Utah area, but the BMW dealership down in Sandy, one of their shop foremen there has really been quite a help to me. Tried to give me all these steps for the torque sequences over the phone, but this engine's it's too complicated to try to do that, without the chance of making a mistake. So I'll probably end up paying the $250 to get access to this software for a month. And then after that, I'll probably just buy E60 or whatever software I need to troubleshoot my M5 from there on out. So right here, I'm doing the stretch on these bolts. If I remember right, it was only about a 50-degree stretch, if I remember right. Not much, but they're pretty small bolts. But all in all, I'd say there's probably about 50 bolts in this bed plate. And I'll kind of do, that's kind of where I left off. I know, not the most wonderful video ever. My next video, I'll be doing the rod bearings. I know there's quite a few videos on replacing rod bearings, but I'll actually go over the torque specs and the stretch, just because, who knows when we're not going to have access to that information, and it's going to be really hard for people to be able to do that. And just like me, I searched forever for the information that I needed just to get as far as I am right now, and it was pretty difficult. So anyways, like and subscribe, guys. I hope this video helped out a little bit. Kind of hard. I don't have too much camera equipment, so any questions or anything, just go ahead and comment, like, subscribe, and hope to have you guys with me on my journey with this M5.